So hello guys, I hope you are all fine. So welcome to this class of ours. So today we are going to talk about EBIT and EPS. We're going to talk about EBIT and EPS. So I hope my screen is clear. Hopefully. Okay. So today we're going to talk about EBIT. That is a point of indifference. So we're going to talk about point of indifference. And when we talk about point of indifference, we mean that any given option that a person might take will have same EBIT, and it will also have same EPS. So let us write and say point of indifference. Point of indifference. So point of indifference, when we talk about point of indifference, we mean so this is the point of financing. This is the point of financing. This is the point of financing where EBIT and EPS of all available financing option of all available financing option are equal. So when we talk about point of indifference, we mean that at any point of level financing, the EBIT and EPS will be equal, will be the same. So this is the point of financing where EBIT and EPS of available option are equal. So that is all what you need to remember. Also, we can continue and say, i.e., EPS of option 1 must be equal to EPS of option 2 must be equal to EPS of option 3, or EBIT of option 1 must be equal to EBIT of option 2 must also be equal to EBIT of option 3, where EPS is earnings per share, while EBIT is earning before interest and tax. So that is all you need to remember when we talk about point of indifference. That is when we talk about point of indifference. Okay, I think now we can do a question. We can do one question and see Let's do a question for a past paper. Let us look for a question. Let us open our past paper. The past paper is in the question of November 2020. November 2020. November 2020. Question 5A. November 2020. Question 5A. Now, before we do that question, let us say something also. So before we do this question, I want us to say something here. I want us to just say something here. So before we do that question, now let us write NB before we do that question. EPS is calculated. EPS is calculated depending on the nature. So EPS is calculated. Hapo I think ni clear. So EPS is calculated depending on the nature of financing as follows. Of financing as follows. Number one. In the case all equity firms, so in the case all equity firm, now in case of all equity firm, then this is the formula for EPS. So EPS will be equal to EBIT, and then we less tax. We divide it with number of ordinary shares. Now this is where the firm is ordinary equity, meaning hakuna madeni, iko tu na equity finance. That is option 1. Then option 2, where we have debt and equity finance. So in the case equity and debt, equity and debt finance. So in the case of equity and debt,
just to
finance.
ask,
Yes.
Is this a continuation of the video that you had shared earlier? Because I was engaged somewhere, I could not view them.
No.
Or
It is the same topic, but it is a new concept.
Oh, because it looked like it's the financing decision.
Financing. This you see cost of capital. It is part of financing decision. So financing decision is contained in cost of capital, capital structure, point of indifference, leverage, and so on.
Okay.
So ziko na vitu mingi ndani. So this one is a topic, but somehow inajisimamia. Tuko sawa? Aina mambo nitashare na wewe video baadaye, utapitia tu pia uone ikuwe uliingia YouTube.
Siku manage, I was held up some.
Haina shida. Make sure umepitia kwa sababu hiyo video niko YouTube, baadaye nitaiweka private.
Okay.
So this one, so tumesema point of indifference, it is a point where EBIT, earning before interest and tax, and EPS of any option is the same regardless of the financing option. So lazima zikuwe the same. So that one is what you need to remember. So EPS of any option is the same, EBIT of any option is the same. Now you can find a question where we have a case of equity firm only, or where we have equity and debt, as tunaandika hapa. So when we have equity and debt, EPS will be equal to EBIT. Now, because we have debt, we need to minus interest first. Then we remove tax. And then we divide it with the number of ordinary share. Number of ordinary divided with the number of ordinary share. That one is when we talk about debt and equity. And then number 3 and the final one, in case of debt, equity, and preference shares. Number 3, in case of debt, equity, and preference shares. We can say that the EPS is equals to EBIT minus, so we have interest. We less interest first, then we less tax, then we less preferred dividend, PD. PD means preferred dividends, our preference dividends, over number of ordinary shares. Tumesema PD it means preference dividends. Preference dividends. So EBIT tunajua I ni interest, T the tax. What else do we have? Nothing new. Then EPS, it is earning per share. EBIT ni earnings, this one and this one. So EPS earning per share, EBIT ni earning before interest, and the tax. Now with that one, we can go straight to our question of November 2020. So you have the past paper?
Yes.
So open November 2020, question number 5A. Tunataka leo tufanye concept mbili, moja ya point of indifference, the other one for average. Tukishafanya hizo mbili, then tutakuwa on a safer side. Ndio tumalize tuingie nao financing decision. Tuingie yani capital budgeting I mean. So nataka tufanye hizo topic kubwa kubwa au sasa tumalize hizo ndogo ndogo ma theory baadaye. That one itakuwa sawa?
Yes.
So itabidi tutakuwa tunaharakisha. So kila siku lazima tufanye at least two topic. Alafu MA najaribu kufikiria MA kuna topic kadhaa najua ni very important but tutafanya tu. So unajua ni venye sasa unapatikana from 7, ingekuwa from around 5, lakini time utakuwa free uniambie. In case kuna any period utajipata uko free, unaniambia in advance. So November 2020, question number 5A. Can you see it?
Yes, I have it.
Donut. So that one is an example of a simplest question. Let us do it. Donut Ltd has a capital structure that consists of 150 million, 15% debenture, and for 50 million ordinary share of 20 per what? Is it 20 per value? Now the company adopts 100% payout ratio as its dividend. The finance manager intends to raise additional 20 million to finance an expansion program and is considering two alternative options. Number 1, either to raise it through debenture, which is 12%, or to use option 2, to issue ordinary share only. Now, what you need to remember is, if this person decides to raise that 20 million through option 1, the EPS must be the same as if he opt for option 2. So whichever option atachukua, then the option of option 1 must be equal to option 2. Let us do it now. Neza vuta. So can I delete it?
Yes.
So Nazavuta, I will share with you the video later. You can
Yes,
screenshot
yes.
also. Yeah.
Don't
So
know.
let me do the question. So the question is about point of indifference. So the question is about point of indifference. Now, let us see, let us start. So we start by writing the formula. So hii swali unaanza hivi. Unasema at the point of indifference, EPS of option 1 must be equal to EPS of option 2. So EPS of option 1 must be equal to EPS of option 2. Now, remember, let us start with option 1. So let us start with EPS of option 1. We say it is equals to formula. So EBIT, if we check in option 1, we have debenture. So meaning we shall be paying an interest because we have debenture. Interest. Then we remove tax. Then we divide it by the number of ordinary shares. Reason why iko na tax? Kwa sababu it's a debenture. So from the debenture we pay interest. Now let us write it down. EPS. So we don't know EBIT. Do we know interest? We can calculate interest. Now we have two kinds of interest in this case. Let us compute interest. Hata tungecompute kwanza interest. Let us compute interest first. Now we have two kinds of interest. Tuende pale juu kwa question. Donald Limited has a capital structure of 150 million, 15% debenture, 15%. Tunaiona. So 15% debenture of how much? The total value of debenture in our capital structure, kwa sababu lazima wanalipa. The total amount of debenture is 150. 150. So 150 million. But remember, if we go to option 1, wanasema option 1, they shall raise the amount using debenture. How much are they going to raise? Pale chini, the finance manager intends to raise 120. If they raise 120 using option 1, they shall also incur another interest of 12%. Of how much? Of the 20 million they are intending to raise. So Mayona, this one is supposed to be 150 million. So 20 million, they equal 20 million. So what will be the total interest?
Why are we adding the 12%?
12%. Tumesema when we tumesema initially in our capital structure pale juu. Initially the existing capital structure wako na loan ya 150 million, sivyo? Debenture. Yes. So hiyo debenture wanalipa interest of how much? 15%, sivyo? 15%. So hiyo ni 15% of 150. That is one of the interest wanalipa, sivyo? Alafu pale chini wanasema the finance manager anataka kuongeza pesa, anataka kuborrow some amount, sivyo? So hiyo amount yenye wanataka kuborrow an extra amount. Kwa hivyo haiko kwa capital structure, sivyo? Okay, wanataka kuborrow 20. So hii 20 million wakiborrow also through debenture, ni kumaanisha wanasema debenture now ina attract 12% rate. Umeiona? Interest. So watalipa interest mara mbili. We have the original one na the new one, sivyo? So that we know the total amount of interest. Yes. So what will be the total amount of interest? Calculator yangu juu nimeiweka wapi? I cannot see it. Aha. The total? Okay, what 15% of 150 plus 12% of 20? It's 22.5 plus 0.12 times 20.
Total is 24.9.
24.9.
The other one is 22.5 plus 2.
So total ni
Two.
tuweke tu total.
24.9.
24.9 million.
24.9.
0.9 million. Sivyo?
24.9, not 29.4.
20? Oh, 24.9.
4.9. Yeah.
24.9 million. So iko sawa?
Yeah.
Hapo, we need to find also something else. We need to find number of shares. Number of ordinary shares. So how do you find the total number of ordinary shares? Tunachukua the total market cap. We divide with the par value. Tunakumbuka? Tunachukua market cap. We divide with the par value. So what is our market cap? Let's go back to our capital structure. We have 450 million ordinary share trading at 20. So 450 million trading at Kenya shillings 20. What will be that one? So 450 divided by 20.
22.5.
22.5 shares, million shares, civil.
Yeah.
Million shares. Now we can find EPS1. Let us find EPS1. So EPS1 will be equal to our EBIT, which we don't know, minus our interest, which is 24.9. We minus tax, which is 1 minus 0.3. Itabidi nimeitafutia nafasi hapa. 1 minus 0.3. So tumesema hii, how many? 22.5 million shares. Itabidi tumeweka hapo for now. And then we divide it with what? We divide it with the total number of shares, which is 22.5. So iko sawa?
Yes.
Let us go to EPS2. Let us go to EPS2 so that you can find EPS2. So EPS2 anasemaje? What is option 2? Raise the money through
issue additional ordinary shares at 20 per value.
At 20 per. Okay. So EPS, we know, we write the formula first before we do. So we know EPS option 2 is equals to EBIT minus interest. No, option 2 anasema issue through shares, sivyo?
Yeah, through shares, no interest.
No interest, so we give interest in this case, but we can remove tax, sivyo?
Yes.
EBIT, then we remove the tax, 1 minus T over number of
ordinary shares.
So in this case, we need to find the number of ordinary shares. So we have the original one from our capital structure, which it was 450 divided by 20. You remember it?
20.
And then we have a new one.
Yes.
Which one? If they raise the 20 million through shares, kumaanisha raise 20 million, sivyo?
Oh.
Sini kweli? So at raise 20 million, but this 20 million, it will go with we still with our par value. So we assume our par value will be the amount to divide to know. So if you want to know the number of shares that we shall have. So kumaanisha kama wana raise 20 million extra, kumaanisha kutakuwa na new number of shares yenye wata raise through that 20 million, sivyo?
Yeah.
So your 20 million, we divide it with the par value of the original value in our capital structure so that we know how much shares itaongezeka. So in that case, we shall have an extra of 1 million shares, sivyo?
True.
Itakuwa ni 22.5 plus 1, which is around 23.5. million. Shares hapo inaonekana sikuwa nimeenda out of board. So tukishapata hivyo, now we can say EPS of option 2 is equals to, so we don't know EBIT, so we don't know EBIT. Aya, we know tax is 1 minus 0.3, and we know shares is 23.5. Umeiona?
Yeah.
Shares hapo iko sawa.
Yeah, true.
Then equate EPS 1 to EPS 2. So EPS 1 yetu ni gani? Unaiona hapa? So we say hii tuichukue hii EBIT minus 24.9, and then tutoe tax 1 minus 0.3 to divide na 22.5 shall be equal with this one. Now huyu hapa ni EBIT 1 minus 0.3 over 23. Hapo iko sawa? Now find the EBIT now. So we find the EBIT, tujaribu to find EBIT. Now, to eliminate, so tuseme EBIT minus 24.9 will be equal to 1 minus 0.3.
0.7.
Divided by 22.5. Hapa itakuwa ni 0.7 EBIT, sivyo?
Yeah.
To divide by 22. So let us multiply. So 0.7 times EBIT itakuwa ni 0.7 EBIT minus 24.9 times 0.7. 24.9 times 0.7. Itakuja ngapi? Ndiko haraka.
24.9
times 0.7. So tuna open the bracket. So tumesema 0.7 times EBIT, tukapata 0.7 EBIT, then minus 24.9 times 0.7.
17.43.
17.43. So everything we divide by 22.5 inaonekana?
Yeah.
And then you can get 0.7 EBIT over 22.5. Itabidi marudi on the other side. Let's go to the other side to eliminate. Copy hiyo, kuna hiyo. Oh, this one ndio naitaka. So to eliminate aje? Let us to see. So tukiona hii we can cross multiply. Sivyo?
Yes.
So let us cross multiply. So tuanze na hii 22.5 we multiply na huko 0.7 EBIT must be equal now huyu. So 22.5. Hii ni 23. That is 23. So 23.5. We also multiply na huku huyu. So 0.7 EBIT minus 17.43. So 22.5 times 0.7 EBIT, how much is that? 22.5 times 0.7.
15.75.
15.75 EBIT. Aya, 23.5 times 0.7.
16.45.
16.45 EBIT minus 23.5 times 17.43. 23.5 times 17.43.
409. 409.605.
Hivyo. So let us tupeleke EBIT on the other side, sivyo? equal 15.75 EBIT minus 16.45 EBIT is equal to minus 409.605. So 15.75 minus 16.45. 15.75 minus 16.45. Njana kungoja sina
16?
calculator. 15.75 minus 16.45. Screen yangu inaonekana kweli? Hizo figures?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, 15.75 minus 16.45.
0.7. 0.7 minus 0.7.
0.7 hivyo.
Negative 0.7.
Negative 0.7 EBIT must be equal to minus 409.605. So let us find EBIT. Itakuwa ni minus 409.605 divided by negative 0.7. So what is our EBIT? Our EBIT
585.
585.15
0.15
million. So that's our EBIT. Now that EBIT, remember, this EBIT is equals to, so remember that is equal to EBIT for option 1 and option 1 is equal to EBIT of option 2, which is equal to this EBIT. So you sawa.
Yes.
And then now we can find EPS. Now EPS we can pick any, unaweza chukua huyu ama ya ile option 1 kwa sababu zote zitakuwa the same EPS. So to me hii ndio tunaiona hapa, let us use it. EPS of option 2 is equals to EBIT. Tumeona ni ngapi? Ndio hapa. 585.15 minus tax. We divide by 23.5. So what will be our EPS? So 585.15 times
17.43.
Kenya shilling 17.43 per share. Ukitumia the other method must also be equal to 17. So that's how you're supposed to do that question. So the question required us, let us read the question. So required, determine the EBIT and earning per share at the point of indifference of earning per share of option 1 and 2. Hiyo ikoaje?
Iko sawa.
Iko sawa. Let us tutafanya maswali mingi later. Let me introduce another concept ndio tumalize topic kabisa. Sivyo?
Oh, true.
So that tunaweza next time tukikutana nitafanya a video peke yangu nikutumie some other question nimefanya, then utapitia so that next time tukipatana we do a new topic, sivyo? So that we can save a lot of time. Now let us talk about leverage. Leverage. Sijui kama tangu tuanze 45 minutes imeisha.
Bado.
So I want to subscribe for the Zoom. Yangu ili expire. Nataka ni subscribe on Monday. So that nisitaki kusubscribe on weekend kwa sababu watu wengi weekend hawapatikani na sitaki kufunza, nisitaki hiyo time ipotee. Unajua lazima tu save. So the subscribe on Monday because I prefer Zoom kwa sababu nini? Google Meetings ni free lakini video yake si quality. So that is the issue. Kama video yake ingekuwa quality hata kutumia simu poa ama kamera I rate vizuri. But Zoom it is good because inaonekana. So leverage. So leverage. Kama inaonekana leverage. So this one. So we talk about leverage, tunaongea mambo na madeni, debt finance. So when a company use debt finance, so I prefer due to in a new topic, I prefer you leave and then you to join tena. Ndio ikuwe rahisi. So unaweza leave and then you join.